What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and a quick update on everyone's favorite politician, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who has been spending diligent time in Congress trying to block the military from being able to stream on Twitch as a recruitment practice. Now, I talked about this more in depth about, a week ago or something like that, and several people in the service have emailed me back to share their opinions. And I think most of them were basically on the same line. Like, hey, I'm in the service. Yeah, it's a little uncomfortable, some of these recruitment methods. But also, like, I mean, is this where we're going to draw the line? Because essentially she was mad that the Navy and the Army were streaming on Twitch, but they were also doing some kind of shady stuff where they were being, like, allegedly had some sort of Xbox controller giveaway that ended up linking out to some recruitment page, which is definitely shady. But I, for one, obviously think they should be able to exist on Twitch, of course. I mean, they have football teams, they have esports teams. What's the difference? But then people, were speed running, getting banned from their Twitch chats and Discord by bringing up some of the lowest points in the military's history. And ultimately, what turned out to just be trolling, got a big conversation going about the First Amendment and whether or not they should be forced to not ban anybody in their chat. But it definitely brings up an interesting gray area, because if the Army isn't allowed to ban people from Twitch chat for bringing up certain things, what if they're going in there breaking terms of service? Should then Twitch not be allowed? Then Twitch couldn't intervene, right? Because if you're saying that this specific chat, the Army or the Navy, the First Amendment protects people's rights to free speech and you can't ban them, well then what's to stop people from going in there and posting terms of service breaking stuff? Then would Twitch be in violation of people's First Amendment rights if they were going in there and posting the gamer word or talking about, all sorts of tinfoil history or ideas? Or what if they were talking about potential cures for the coof that are banned from Twitter and YouTube and things like that? I mean, it's definitely, it would have been a very slippery slope. But nonetheless, the House blocked her amendment to bar the U.S. military from recruiting anyway. And in fact, Democrats voted against it too, as I expected. So this is via Forbes. The House of Representatives on Thursday blocked an amendment to its defense appropriation bill for the fiscal 2021 that would have barred the U.S. military from recruiting on video game streaming sites like Amazon's Twitch. And the amendment's author, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, saying on the floor, "War is not a game." So stunning and brave. But, at the end of the day, the military, they're going to recruit. That's just the way it is. You can argue whether individual methodologies of recruitment are sus, and that's a definite conversation. But existing on Twitch probably is one of the least invasive that I can imagine. And so some of the facts were that the amendment is specifically to block recruitment practices and the funding for recruitment practices on platforms such as Twitch, which are live streaming platforms which are largely populated by children well under the age of recruitment rules, Ocasio-Cortez said. I don't know if that's true or not. You can be recruited, I think, when you're 17 or even younger. I don't know what the actual breakdown is on Twitch. I'm sure it skews younger. To me, this is an obvious publicity stunt by Ocasio-Cortez, which is really all of her political opinions seem to be. She knew it would appeal to young progressive millennials. That's who her voting core is. It was just a slam dunk for her to try, even though she looks foolish. While Republicans unanimously opposed the measure, Democrats were split, with Ocasio-Cortez taking to Twitter during the vote to say, "Imagine trying to explain to your colleagues who are members of Congress what Twitch is." And this is what she said. Now, it is fair. You have a bunch of boomers in Congress trying to understand what live streaming is. This is a big problem in terms of Section 230, which we've been talking about a lot lately, where we're talking about certain protections provided to social media. It seems like the boomer cons in Congress don't really understand anything about Silicon Valley outside of they're censoring conservatives. It seems like the only time they care, which is extraordinarily sad, because there's a lot more going on than just election meddling. Sure, they're doing that, and if that's what gets them to pay attention, I would understand. But it's more complex than that. And they definitely need subcommittees to help explain to these people. They need committees to explain to these people why it's important. She goes on to say, some context for a few folks getting upset at this. Congress is voting on legislation regarding Twitch today. It's totally fine if you don't know what Twitch is, but tech literacy is becoming a growing need in Congress, so we need to legislate to protect people's privacy. I agree. By the way, as much as I loathe Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she was one of the people who I believe were on the statement admonishing Blizzard for their free speech for the pro-Hong Kong stuff. So she's been on the right side of free speech online at least once or twice. The good news, a majority of Dem party supported the amendment. That's really solid start for being the first time an issue has been brought before Congress. We've made great strides since that Senate Facebook hearing, but we've got a lot of room to still improve. And then you see her just getting dunked on by people. We must stay in total lockdown indefinitely. Massive gatherings of Marxist demonstrators should be encouraged and lauded. It's a myth that unchecked rioters are burning American cities to the ground. This is all Trump's fault. That's essentially what the squad in Congress. I don't even think Democrats like her, or Ilhan Omar and these other jokers. But ultimately, the idea that you want to legislate around the way the military recruits, that's something I could probably get behind. Barring them from Twitch, I can't get behind that. There's really no reason for it. They're allowed to purchase endless advertising on television. They can run those ads whenever they want. They can buy billboards wherever they want. They can advertise in schools. They can do, what's the difference if they're on Twitch? So the U.S. Air Force, Army, and Navy all sponsor esports teams with members streaming to Twitch, but recent controversies prompted concerns over recruitment practice. Twitch stepped in to stop the Army from using faux giveaways to redirect viewers to a recruitment forum. This is, by the way, I support. The lawyers from the Knight First Academy Institute of Columbia University demanded that the Army and Navy reverse bans on their Twitch channels against users who spoke about bad things that the United States have done. Again, I don't necessarily disagree with them having to allow this, especially when you're talking about a government entity. Their standard of First Amendment protections is higher from me, a citizen. If the Army is censoring people from chat, that's probably not a good idea. Could they use sub-only mode? Even that becomes suspect. I think you've just got to let it all ride. Essentially what happened is people like Rod Breslau, Slasher on Twitter. I enjoy the guy, but he's also very progressive, we'll say, which is fine. But, guys like him were promoting basically speed running and spamming these Discords and trolling them. Totally fine, but understand that, these are the same people that would have a problem with, say, people doing it to Pokimane. Now, you could scoff and say, well, it's the U.S. military. Well, is it, though? It's one streamer. It's one dude or a female, one person on the other end of that chat. Right, so you're still brigading a single person just because they work for a big company. As an example, I don't know if that changes it. Maybe it does. Again, I don't support them banning people for calling up bad things that they did, but I do think it does open an interesting conversation onto whether or not Twitch then would be able to even touch their chat. Would I be able to go in there and talk about hydroxychloroquine or something like that? Who knows? So Representative Pete Visklosky, who chairs the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee, spoke out against the amendment during the debate, saying the U.S. military is a very special place. We ought to cast a very wide net to encourage young Americans to serve their country in the military. By the way, there are a lot of, the military is very different nowadays. Most of the people signing up aren't exactly going to be boots on the ground. They're recruiting top engineers, gamers. There's a good career in the military that doesn't involve ending other people's lives necessarily, at least directly. And it's a good option for a lot of people. I know a lot of friends personally that didn't have a lot of options, and they were able to support their families, get married, have kids because of the opportunities they got from the GI Bill. So, you know, I'm going to default to supporting them, the men and women of the service, but certainly I accept, you know, questioning some of these particular ideas. So the same person argued that military conducts educational programs for young people, but Ocasio-Cortez responded, children on platforms such as Twitch are bombarded with banner ads that link to recruitment sign-up forms that can only be submitted by children as young as 12. These are not educational outreach programs. These are recruitment forms. Okay, yeah, so I agree. Change that. Change that. But to act like, you know, there isn't all other sorts of other forms of bad influences on Twitch is absurd. Referencing FPS games popular with military members streaming on Twitch like Call of Duty, Ocasio-Cortez said we cannot conflate military service and this with this kind of gamified format. She later tweeted, it's totally fine if you don't know what Twitch is, but tech literacy is becoming a growing need in Congress so we can legislate to protect people's privacy. And again, I don't disagree with that. Am I surprised she got blown out of the water on this? Not one bit. Her entire political career has been a waste. Every cause she's pursued has been a waste. And she's more interested in taking pictures of her in front of empty parking lots and pretending like it's full of migrant workers than really doing anything for the people who voted her in. Nonetheless, hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.